My job tonight is to explain the format, to ask questions, and resolve any questions that the candidates may have. And hopefully we won't have to do any of that if we can help it. As John said, I'm a local attorney. I've been on North Dixie Highway since 2003, doing mostly business and real estate law. Tonight our format is pretty simple. Each candidate will get a 2-minute chance to open up and to talk about them while they're running. And just so you're ahead of time, we're going to start down here at this end and go all the way to the other end with that. And at the end, there'll be a similar 2-minute chance to sum up. And everyone can hear me, correct? Yes. Thank you. In the middle, each candidate will have the ability to rebut some other candidate's statement during that question that was being asked. And this is only for the questions and not for the openings and the closing. And they have a big white sign with a red circle and a white R. And they get to hold that up, and once they use it once, it's hit. And it becomes into the ash sheet. Let's see.
How many rebuttals?
1 rebuttal. All out. And, you know, I always say this one, let's make sure our cell phones are, turned to stun and not to loud, and not to make noise or any kind of jingles. And like always, the more we can hear these candidates tell us what they believe and what they plan to do when elected, and the less we hear ourselves clapping, the more we're going to hear of them. But, they deserve applause from time to time, but let's keep it within reasonable so we can move this thing right along. And the questions tonight are going to get asked, going to be trying to go in as many different directions as possible, so no one has to go first all the time and no one has to go last all the time. Just trying to keep that fair. So do the candidates have any questions about what's going on tonight? All right, that being said, Andrew, you go first with your opening. The timers are down here in front of you. Your time starts as soon as I stop the cabin. Go.
Thank you very much. As I stand here today, I am humbled by the memory of standing on this stage as a candidate for mayor for the very first time. As a citizen, a homeowner, a business owner, wife to Michael, and a mother to a lot of furry babies, I had, like many of you who've lived here for a while, reached a point when it was time to step up and figure out why this city that was so amazing was struggling so badly. For those of you who are new to Lake Worth, it was a very different city than it is today. On the verge of bankruptcy, crime-ridden with gang issues, crumbling infrastructure, a fractured community that had an us and them mentality and an inability to get out of its own way and get things done for years. But all of that changed on Election Day. With the help of Vice Mayor Maxwell, Vice Mayor Pro Tem Andy Amoroso, a new city manager, and a lot of hard work, bickering turned to compromise. And old wounds began to heal as we began to build a brighter future. Today, with the addition of Commissioners Omari Hardy and Herman Robinson, you have an entire commission committed to the betterment of our community, and we're also all standing by me with their endorsements. Over the next hour or so, I hope you can hear the details of some of the great and progressive things that I've been able to accomplish with the help of my fellow commissioners. We're now a leader in renewable energy. We are all owners of our very own solar farm. We are working with FAU to harness the power of the Gulf Stream to subsidize our grid. Our residential electric power rates per 1,000 kilowatt homeowner are finally lower than FP&L's for the first time ever. Crime is down double digits. We're the place where art is created in Palm Beach County. The Park of Commerce is open. The bickering has ended. The casino's open. And there's now more investment in the city than ever, all while preserving our small town charm. Thank you.
Miami-Dade, Broward are now built up. West Palm Beach and Lake Worth are next. Voters need to consider if they want a mayor concerned with growth on steroids or a moderate like me, a mayor who will balance growth in the environment. We need to plan for sea level rise. We are identified with its significant impact. I want to start that discussion. We need to continue to upgrade our infrastructure in Lake Worth. We need to continue to fight the opioid crisis, and I would follow the lead of David Ehrenberg. We need to control sober homes. we need to protect our public safety. We need to balance between growth and the environment. Environmental protection is significant. We want to protect the historic character of Lake Worth. Our strength is in our small town flavor. We want to maintain the small town atmosphere. We want to be a welcoming city. We want to restore the pool, the golf course, and the Gulf Stream. We want to install rooftop solar on our city buildings and our commercial buildings. We want to see if we can reduce our CRA footprint so that the CRA is not taking all of our highest and best properties out of our tax revenues. People should not be evicted to make room for CRA projects. We need to promote a 4G network throughout our utility. This will bring in high-tech businesses. The utility should be our greatest asset. I have been involved with Lake Worth for many years. I have been a member of the Tree Board, the Library Board, Friends of the Lake Worth Library, Lake Worth Municipal Institute, and a CERT member, as well as the Climate Change Task Force. I have served for 8 years on the Soil and Water Conservation District, and I believe that we should build on the progress that Lake Worth has made. I want to thank all of you for attending this forum.
Mr. Maxwell.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Scott Maxwell, and I'm honored again to be here tonight as a candidate for re-election to the City Commission. I'd like to thank the Napc and the Lake Worth Lighthouse for having the event, but most of all, I want to thank you for coming out. I know most, if not many of you here in this room tonight, and like you, I believe in Lake Worth. This is a place where my wife and I bought a home, raised our son, grew friendships, practiced our religion, and enjoyed the blessing of living in paradise. But even in paradise, there can be trouble. Not too many years ago, the lack of leadership, serious instability, and utter dysfunction was literally dragging our city down. Now, the stories back then were more about the antics and shenanigans of the past leaders rather than the stories of the real problems facing the city or the leadership's plan to address them. In fact, failing infrastructure, high utility rates, business closures, increasing slum and blight, and millions of dollars in lawsuits against this city were pulling this community down. And make no mistake about it, we were well on our way to bankruptcy and further disgrace. So I decided to make a difference and ran for the office to fight for you in our city. I was committed to do whatever necessary to turn this city around. Back in those days, I felt like it was the lone voice of reason, but I forged ahead. In November 2011, I went from being the lone voice amid chaos to being part of a team that came together, a team that worked together, and a team that succeeded together on a string of successes and accomplishments that have led our city to where we are today. From that point on, this city stopped focusing on the symptoms of our issues and instead focused on the root causes of those issues. And we have never looked back. That said, I'd like to thank Pam Torello, Mayor, and Andy Amoroso, Commissioner, for working together to help save our city from those troubled days past. This 2-minute opening couldn't possibly provide enough time for me to share the many accomplishments our team has made together. However, I look forward to answering as many questions tonight and hope that those questions will highlight some of our accomplishments. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sarah Maligo. I'm the owner of the Zoo Health Club in downtown Lake Worth. In 2010, when we opened the gym here in Lake Worth, many people told me I was crazy. Why would you invest in this town? And I said, because I see something bigger and better. There were many empty storefronts in this town when we moved here. It was not even soon after 2 years, my wife and I bought a home. And we bought a home in Royal Point, Sienna, an area that had major blight. 8 homes around us were still boarded up and bank owned. It wasn't long after that that I was elected president of Royal Point Sienna neighborhood. I got very involved in the city. There are not many items that we were not invited to or encouraged to join in on that we didn't say yes and pitch right in on. Being the president of Royal Point Sienna for 4 years, I was able to take the bank account from $100 to $4,000 through writing grants. I instilled a crime watch program with the help of my community. We worked hard to get rid of the blight and the crime that riddled our neighborhood. I'd like to say we've been successful. 14 stop signs installed in our neighborhood because we didn't have one stop sign running north or south from A Street to F, but yet our commissioner never knew that. So people were using our neighborhood as a cut through to 6th Avenue. I came up here tonight to ask you to take the opportunity to listen to me, realize why I'm running. I'm running because I love all of Lake Worth. My intentions are to bring more diverse businesses to the downtown area, to continue to focus on crime, getting rid of the crime, focusing on District 1 and all of Lake Worth, not just a small portion of Lake Worth. I am here because I love all of Lake Worth, all of Lake Worth residents. We have a lot to offer. We have great amenities like the pool that need to be reopened, the golf course that needs to be focused on to bring in the income that it should be bringing, and we need to really work hard on lowering the rates for the utilities for the commercial businesses and focus on bringing more businesses to the downtown area that bring jobs like my zoo gym. Every person who works for me lives in the downtown area. Therefore, the money my gym makes, we put back into our community, to the landlords and to the utilities. Thank you for your time.
All right, did all the candidates feel they were being heard out there? You could be heard. Everyone felt like they could hear everybody? All right, that's what I wanted to know. All right, we're gonna have our first question. I haven't read these yet, so work with me on it. It's a 2-minute question. Oh, and there's chairs behind you if you care to sit. Sorry. All right, and we're gonna start with Ms. Mogiga on the far end and just come right back down the line. What neighborhood association area do you live in? How do you see NAPC and the neighborhood associations being more involved to be helpful to the city?
Well, as I stated, I live in Royal Point, Sienna, which is 6th Avenue South to Lake Avenue, South A Street to Dixie Avenue, Dixie Highway. I'm a big advocate for the NAPC. I think the city gains a lot of volunteer hours and saves a lot on payroll by the volunteers that step up time and time again for items from the street painting festival to the 5th Avenue evenings on the Avenue. The NAPC, one of the things I'd like to do is put into the budget some money for each neighborhood association for the banners that they need, for signs that they need. These neighborhoods work hard to raise money, and the money that they raise they put back into their neighborhoods, which all it does is enhance the pride and enhances the value of our city. So I think we need to start putting money in our budget for the neighborhood associations and helping them with all the work they've already been doing.
Thank you.
Would you repeat that question?
Sure, and anytime anyone needs a question repeated, please feel free to ask. What neighborhood association area do you live in? How do you see NAPC and the neighborhood associations being more involved to be helpful to the city?
Thank you. First of all, I'm proud to announce that virtually every square inch of this city has the luxury of being part of the neighborhood association. And that's something that many, many years ago I went to bat for and encouraged to happen around the city. There was a time in this city where the city government did not want neighborhood associations to flourish, and those days are over. And thanks to the new structure of the NAPC, you guys and gals have done tremendous work from one end of the city to the other. You've helped each other, you've helped struggling residents, you've brought volunteer hours to our major signature events, and you've truly made Lake Worth an example that other municipalities around Palm Beach have emulated. So there's not a whole lot more I believe that could be done other than to continue doing what you're doing and continue embracing the great ideas that you guys have brought to the table and refining them. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you mind?
I was involved in organizing and beginning the Eden Place Neighborhood Association, and we were one of the first neighborhood associations to really become active. I believe they then began to change their boundaries, but I always feel like I'm a member of the Eden Place because that's the neighborhood association I began with. I attended their meetings. We had a very significant number of people who attended those meetings. I think neighborhood associations are important to the benefit of the city. I do believe that neighborhood associations should remain non-political and that they should be focused on benefiting their neighborhoods. We did a number of different activities. We had tree sales, we had fundraisers, and we had barbecues and picnics. So I appreciate everything that neighborhood associations do. I was involved when Ronnie Romano first came up with the idea of neighborhood associations, and I encourage the city to continue to have them.
Thank you.
Well, I hope they know I'm a huge fan of the neighborhood associations. Everything that they do. When we talked about, a city on the verge of bankruptcy, when I first got elected, it was pretty bad, and we needed a lot of help. And we actually turned to the community and said, how can you help? People wanted to get involved, and they got involved from everything from answering telephones at City Hall to helping, to helping build little free libraries to, whatever it may be. But they got involved to help the city on many different levels. I want to address one thing. We actually did budget this year, or I spoke with the city manager about it, to get budgets for banners. So that was one really good thing. I also wanted to mention too, when we talked about our comprehensive plan recently, we actually added a specific line into it that Lake Worth is a community of neighborhoods. And that was put into our official documents for the city because of all that the neighborhood associations and the people have done in this community. I'm very grateful for how they stood up and stepped out. I could never stop saying enough great things because they were the backbone and the heart of this city when we were struggling. And could they do more? I don't know how, because they already do 10 million jobs already, but whatever they're involved in, I'm always going to be a part of and a supporter for. Thank you.
All right, thank you. A little bit of housekeeping, just in case you don't know. We're not going to be here all night long. Around 8 o'clock, we're going to go to a final question and then have closing statements. Is there anything else? I asked, but I can only ask for that. So, second question, we're going to start with Drew Martin, and then we're going to go down to Scott Maxwell, Sarah Maliga, and then end up with Pam Triolo. This is a 2-minute question. Topic, Dixie/Federal Highway. Pending final approval from FDOT, a section of South Dixie Highway in West Palm Beach is slated to be reduced from 4 lanes to 2, with a center turn lane, on-street parking, and improved landscaping. Are you familiar with that proposal, and would you be in favor of a similar project for Dixie Highway in Lake Worth?
I am familiar with that proposal. As a matter of fact, I was at the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council, which I happen to attend as one of the few non-members of the board who are public members, and I heard that proposal. And Melissa McKinley, who's the current mayor of Palm Beach, was shocked because she said, I already have trouble getting around town, and that is going to make it really difficult if you reduce the number of lanes. And I'll tell you, we're talking about fixing our roads, and one of the reasons our roads are in disrepair is because people use our side roads to drive around. And if you reduce the flow of these major arteries, you know what you're going to do? You're going to push all that traffic onto all these side roads. And we're already having people rushing down our street because they're in a hurry and they don't want to be slowed down. So I don't think this is a good idea to reduce that. I do like trees. I was a member of the tree board, I'm a member of the Sierra Club, and trees, I love trees and I love beautification. But the place to do that is on a lot of these parking lots that are completely blank. But I think that we need to get all this traffic off the side streets. People need to drive on the main arteries. And when you make it difficult to do that by reducing the number of lanes, all you're going to do is force a huge amount of traffic onto all your side streets. So for that reason, I do not favor reducing the flow of traffic on your main arteries. So I would not be in favor of doing that. I think it would in the end be bad for the city and make it difficult for people to get around. So please consider that.
Thank you. Scott?
Would you like to go now?
Scott.
Thank you. First of all, a little history lesson. For those of you who've lived here very long, you'll remember back in the late 1990s, FDOT came through and redid Federal Highway, Dixie Highway, Lakeland, Lucerne. Effectively what they did is they eliminated the on-street parking on Dixie Highway, which did a couple of things. Number one, it allowed FDOT to achieve their mission, which was to move cars as quickly as possible. But number two, the unintended consequence was that many of our businesses went out of business because they didn't have any more customers. So the answer to that question is directly yes. I do propose a plan like that because I believe, number one, we need to reduce the speed of the traffic on Dixie Highway. We need to replace the parking that we once had on Dixie Highway. We need to reinvest and get more businesses back on Dixie Highway, and we need to line it with as many trees as we possibly can. The only thing I want to add to that is I think we should take a look at reducing the number of bus stops, though, because it seems like the bus stops at every block. So, but other than that, I'm very much in favor of reducing the traffic flow on Dixie Highway. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah?
I actually went to the Hatch building when FDOT was here and I looked at the diagrams carefully, and there were many different options. I actually had 3. Of the 3, there was one that I was in favor of, and it was including putting parking on the side back of Dixie Highway and slowing the traffic down. It was not taking out a lane, which I was happy with. I will tell you that there are accidents at the corner of Dixie and Lucerne probably 3 to 5 times a month that are almost catastrophic. And when I say catastrophic, it's because people are flying down Dixie Highway, trying to come out from Lucerne, and we've seen one really bad not even 2 weeks ago, where a possible child could have been injured. Anything that we can do to slow down the traffic, but also beautify our city, I'm in favor of. I'm also in favor of formulating the boundaries of the CRA to include going down Dixie Highway to 18th Avenue South, to bring more businesses into our city and to bring more homeowners into our city. We need to incorporate 18th Avenue into Dixie Highway, and we need to incorporate that into our plan for growth for the future. Not just slowing down traffic, but getting people to stop at that traffic, patronize the businesses, and enjoy our city. It's not just about removing the traffic. We want people to come through Lake Worth. We have a great town, but we want people to come through Lake Worth at a slow speed, a safe speed, and patronize our businesses, and possibly move here in the future.
I've sat on the MPO, now the TPA board, for the last 5.5 years. That was the Metropolitan Planning Agency, and the Complete Streets is what the project is actually called, is being looked at major at cities all throughout the county, of course. Most people will probably recognize the one being done through the Antique Road District in West Palm Beach and south of Belvedere Road now. They're doing some transformations. There are 3, as Ms. Malega said, there are 3 different options. And of course, we're going to go out to the communities and the business community to make sure that we do what's right for this community. But as the Vice Mayor also mentioned too, they took those parking spots away from the businesses years ago and they created a highway. Used to be a more rural road, but they created a highway where the cars speed through and use us as a pass-through to get from one town to the other. We have to think that roadways are not just roadways, they also contribute to other things. Like when we became a highway and the businesses lost their business, we accumulated prostitution. We accumulated crime that happens. You have to look at these projects and look at them holistically. When you have people no longer walking on the streets on safe sidewalks and crossing the roadways, now you have it open for people to come in and conduct bad business like prostitution and crime throughout the downtown and the Dixie Highway corridor. Dixie corridor needs a renovation. It needs to be family friendly. It needs to get people back on. It needs the business to thrive. And it needs to have turn lanes that people can turn safely. And I think with listening to the community, the business community and the residents in the neighborhood will come up with a solution that's going to be green, it's going to be safe, and it's going to be, it's going to put us back on the map again. And it's going to add more community to our hometown. Thank you.
All right. Our third question, we're going to start with Scott Maxwell, and then we're going to come this way and finish with Sarah Maliga. Okay. Question number 3. One of my favorite topics, CRA. 2-minute question. Can you explain the purpose behind a community redevelopment agency, CRA? Should this compound, should the CRA board operate independently, or should it be under direct control of the City Commission? What do you see as the CRA's role in Lake Worth's future? Scott Maxwell.
Thank you. First of all, the CRAs are designed to create, eliminate blighted neighborhoods and to increase business and jobs. And by doing so, what happens is a boundary will be drawn, and the aggregate value of those properties will be a benchmark, if you will, for taxation purposes. So anything that CRA board does, or they do to expand or increase the value of those properties, those additional taxes above the baseline go into the CRA for reinvestment back into that district. Now, the CRA, you may not know, was once under the purview of the City Commission back in the early 2000s. In fact, I had to vote against that. I thought at the time that the CRA was best served having the elected officials take care of tax-related revenues of the citizens. However, I have to tell you that in many cases I found this CRA to be most effective. They've been very, very successful in some of their projects. For example, the $23.6 million NSP2 program, which we understand is set as a gold star, gold standard, if you will, by HUD. So they did a really nice job of creating about 140 new and refurbished homes here in Lake Worth. As far as the future is concerned, there's still plenty of opportunity for the CRA here in Lake Worth. What I'd like to see done a little bit differently, though, is a little bit more of an analysis, if you will, of just exactly how much of financial impact they've made within those boundaries, so we can measure that from year to year. Thank you.
Thank you. Remark.
My concern with the CRA is that it does not contribute to the basic city services. So any taxable income above the base income when the CRA was established, and CRAs were established to prevent blight, which I do not think the downtown was a blighted area. But what it has done is it has drained from the ad valorem that the city receives. And as a result, it doesn't contribute to the fire department, it doesn't contribute to the police department, it doesn't contribute to the library. So that means that we have to either reduce fire, police, and library services, or we have to raise the taxes on the residents. I'm also concerned that CRAs have been turned more into business development for real estate developers than vehicles to assist the public. Someone told me the CRA holds 30 homes off that are vacant. People are evicted from housing for CRA projects based on a sign I see on Lake Avenue. So CRAs really haven't fulfilled the function that we had originally intended. I would like to see the CRA more under the control of the city. I would further like to find a way to utilize CRA to do things to help the average person, not developers. I don't like to see a Starbucks being built with CRA money. I think Starbucks can afford to build their own restaurant. When CRA does build a building, I'd like to see solar panels on that building. CRA needs to be more sustainable. I would like to see the CRA encouraging sustainable green businesses and small businesses and helping those renters who need a place to live, not just building exciting and glitzy projects. The other thing I'm disappointed to see the CRA eliminating all the vegetation on 10th, which they recently did, which I think is a waste of money to install vegetation and then cut it all down. So for those reasons, I think we need to reevaluate the CRA.
Thank you.
My first experience with the CRA was going to the very first home dedication. And it was a beautiful home that was created on 10th Avenue North, and I think it was D Street, and right near the intersection. And I got to meet the homeowners. They were originally from Haiti, and they were just an incredible family. I didn't know what to bring, so of course, you know me, the foodie. I bring a basket full of muffins and a loaf of bread, Italian bread, and whatever. I figured a basket full of something, and I went there, and that's when I had my first good cry. I just was so happy. I felt like I was part of this amazing thing. You know, I don't know where this is coming from about glitzy things. They built 140 homes, affordable homes in our community. You know, places that were run down, that were crime-ridden and infested, and they created an opportunity to put these homes back on the tax rolls and give people, low-income people, the opportunity to have a home and be a contributor to this community. So I don't know where this is coming from. You know, first of all, the whole object of a CRA is designed to sunset at some point. You know, they're not supposed to be around forever, but what they are supposed to do is to help and bring back the economy, and that's what our CRA is really doing. They have done so much in the downtown area, and they are continue to do so much, and they help people at every level to have a better way of life. I am excited